Just want to take a few seconds to say thanks for watching the Milo videos. We're going to do a lot more of those, but I wanted to tell you, this next video is something new. It's going to be part of a series of interviews I'll be doing with creative professionals. The idea is, hopefully, we'll be able to get you to be more creative quickly. I hope you enjoy this one. This one's with Riley Adkisson. He's a professional designer, and yes, he does look like Justin Timberlake, but that's not the point of the video.
Hi, Ram.
Hi. Hello, how are you?
It's a little high. Is this a good distance? Or
This is good.
Yeah, I don't feel like.
No, I don't feel violated.
The light isn't too much.
Not until I just stared into it.
Hi.
Hey.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
And what is your name?
My name is Riley Adkisson.
And how do I know you?
We worked together for, what was it, 4 years? Almost?
Right.
But not only that, but you were my boss and my first ever...
Love?
My first love, yeah. Well, my first
I'm
ever...
glad we're getting that on video.
You were my first ever, mentor, career-wise.
What do you do for a living?
I am a creative designer. So I used to say UI designer or even website designer, but recently that has expanded beyond just website or UIs.
Right. How does creativity fit into what you do for a living?
Yeah, it fits into multiple aspects, which I think is my favorite part of it. And there's the obvious ones, where if you're brainstorming an idea, obviously you take some creative thought. But I actually have found surprised in the ways that creativity fits in the less obvious spaces. What I consider to be creative work has kind of expanded and seeped into everything I do. And that's part of working with you and Shoko and everybody.
How else? See, this is actually a really complicated question because normally I would ask, oh, how do I know you? Oh, we used to work together. But Riley, how else do I know you?
I have been dating your cousin, Kim.
What? Cut.
When I first moved to New York, when was that? I had just turned 21, which is wild how long ago that was. And you invited me, you were nice enough to invite me to a family party,
Right.
a luau. And I went and really hit it off with some of your cousins, one in particular. Her name is Kimberly, and we've been dating shortly thereafter.
One of the first creative things you and I did together was me taking a portrait of you.
Oh, that's right.
It was a black and white, and you were on a table like this. Well, not on a table.
Laying across it, yeah.
You were sitting at a table like this, and the light was coming from the window next to you. And I remember that is the picture that Kim saw when she first realized what you looked like. Right.
Yeah, so you made that happen in more ways than one, really.
What do you do well creatively that you're surprised that most people just have a hard time with?
That's a good question.
Yeah, what comes naturally?
Yeah. Thinking in terms of a narrative, even when finding a creative solution. I think I always had a tendency to think in more of a story-driven way. Yeah, and I think that's why people generally react to my ideas, because they're more story-driven, which again is something that you always talked about that really fueled that track of thought for me. I went to school for video game design, and then my focus was much more directed, right? Because in high school you're taking all kinds of classes, and you have a lot of things, you're pulled in a lot of directions, and one of the benefits of the school I went to is that it was, I would describe it as a media arts trade school. So it was sort of... It
was out in Chicago, right?
Yeah, exactly. You're sort of hyper-focused on whatever trade or tract of work that you chose. Mine was video game design.
Right.
So that was a really fun time for me, because I got to spend all my time thinking creatively and thinking of story or mechanics that drive that story. And I think that's when I realized that as far as the story part, that came very natural.
One of the common conversations that come up between us, and it's usually you bringing this up, and I'm always entertained but kind of wowed at it, even though it's a simple and nerdy topic, is superpowers.
Oh yeah.
One of the funny aspects of superpowers that you bring up is always the topic of useless superpowers.
Yes.
Do you talk about that, your fascination, and what your favorite useless superpower is?
I just love the irony of a superpower that just brings there's no real use or advantage to it.
For example,
let me see. I thought of one recently that I really love, and it's if you could, let's say you could read people's minds, but you had to make a really silly noise while you're doing it. So you had to be like, yeah. The only thing you'd ever get was, what is wrong with this guy? Why is he making this noise? So I love stuff like that.
One of the reasons, among many, why you and I feel like have become good friends is the amount of time you and I spent together just commuting between Manhattan and New Jersey. Mm-hmm. How long of a commute is that, just so people know? Door to door.
Oh, door to door? Yeah, from where I am, like an hour and a half.
Do you get a chance to use that time for creativity?
Yeah, I do. Sometimes more than others. So sometimes I take that time to write or to sketch, and I do enjoy that. Sometimes I read. Sometimes I have my Nintendo Switch, and that's a different kind of creativity, I guess, but less about my own creativity and enjoying someone else's.
I remember there were times where you and I were creative with other commuters when they were not nice.
Oh yeah,
those were fun moments.
There was the guy who, I think, what was he? He insisted that we be quiet or that we shouldn't talk. Were we in a quiet car?
No, we weren't. We were just having fun in the morning.
That was the kicker, yeah. If we were in a quiet car, I think we would have been like, oh, sorry. And I think we ended up sitting, he was in between us somehow, wasn't he? I just remember talking over him very loudly, or across him or something.
So I remember at some point on our commute, there is this really busy stop at Newark, where half of the train gets up. Yeah. Because you and I were standing at the time, and half the train gets up, but he was sitting, and I decided to sit next to him.
Yeah, that's right.
I think I started leaning on him as well.
Yeah. As if you were leaning to speak to me, but you sort of into his personal bubble, which was entertaining.
That was actually really fun.
Yeah.
Is there a favorite tool you have that you just couldn't do without? Like, let's say some universal Galactus comes along, right? You like that? Says, I'm going to take this one creative tool away from you. What would be the worst tool for him to take away from you?
I think that the one thing that I use more than anything is my notepad, and it's where all my ideas start.
But do they end there?
No,
it's really just a
but for me, for the work that I really love to do, the most important part is that beginning, that exciting aha idea, because I can always build off of it. In fact, I mean, I've had a lot of ideas that I was able to kind of pull into different kinds of ideas or directions, but the things that I'm most excited about, where a lot of my other things stem from, start at my notebook. So that's a tool that I need.
How many? Do you have like a main notebook? Do you have multiple notebooks?
I have multiple notebooks, and I write super chicken scratch. It's almost like I've
seen your chicken scratch.
No one else.
You should be a doctor, actually.
Yeah, my mom always used to say that.
And your mom's a nurse, right?
She is, yeah, so she would know.
For sure, yeah.
Purely for my handwriting, by the way, not for any other reasons.
Right. There's a difference between a colon in medicine and a colon in writing.
That's exactly right. Yeah, and I prefer the latter. Personally. Well, it's almost like I'm writing in like secret code, because I don't think anyone else could even understand or make sense of what's in my notebook.
So thank you for this.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Do you mind if I take a picture of you?
Absolutely not.
All right, cool.